وعلى أهل البيت الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعنة الله أعدائهم أجمعين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. أما بعد قال تعالى في القرآن المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كل نفس ذائقة الموت ثم إلينا ترجعون. Recite the salawat. So far, alhamdulillah, we have discussed what our goal is. Our goal is to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is where we are aiming for. And in order to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, our requirement is to have taqwa, to have faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That will get us to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we need teachers. We said our teachers are the imams and the prophets. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent them as a guide for us. And along this journey, as we're going towards God, we need companions, we need friends that will help us, and we also will have enemies that will stop us. So how do we know who's our friend and who's our enemy? We said anyone that will take us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our friend, and anyone that takes us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our enemy. And then yesterday we talked about family, the importance of family. Family is our foundation, our basic. Family, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created as a place of love and comfort, a place which is our base, our home. We need to have a place where we start from, and that is our family, our home. We're born into that family, we grow up in that environment, so whatever happens in there, that has a big impact on us. If our home and family is an environment where we feel safe, where we feel comfortable, then we can grow better in that environment. We can nourish all our abilities in that environment, and we can grow to become the best that we can. We can grow to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and have perfection. And we can be healthy in terms of our taqwa and faith. However, if our environment, family environment is not good, then that will affect us as well. That will affect our health, that will affect us to get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recite the salawat. So we have these different relationships in a family. Each one is important. The relationship between a husband and wife, relationship between a parent and a child, relationship between siblings. So each one of these come together to form the basics, the foundation, and to support us whenever we need. So what is it now? What is it left that we have to do? We have the building, we have the support, we have friends, we know our goal. Now what is left is the exam. Yeah, so what is this exam? Allah says, كُلُّ نَفْسٍ ذَائِقَةُ الْمَوْتِ ثُمَّ إِلَيْنَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Every soul shall test death, and to us is your return. We see trees, the leaves on the trees, they go from green to yellow, and they fall off. We see food, it is nice and good, and if you leave it over time, it will perish. We have seen people who used to sit with us in this place, now they're not there anymore, they have died. Maybe we have seen our family members, our grandparents, who were with us at one time, and now they're not there anymore. So everyone has to die, everyone will die. The angel of death comes, the Israel comes and takes everyone's souls. So the angel of death is responsible for this. However, a day will come when even the angel of death will die. So everyone has to die. Death is our exam. When we give this exam, then we will know where we stand in the day of judgment. Whether we have passed our exam, what we have done in this world, so we go through this death, this is our preparation for the hereafter, for the day of judgment. If we have passed in this life, then our result will be good on the day of judgment. And if you have failed, then our result will not be so good. So when we go to the day of judgment, that's when we will get our result. Day of judgment is one of the usuluddin, is the fifth usuluddin for us. It is as important as Tawheed and prophethood. So all the Muslims around the world, they believe in Tawheed, in oneness of God, they believe in prophethood, that Allah sent prophets, and they believe in Day of Judgment. If a person does not have one of these beliefs, then they cannot be a Muslim. We have to have that Muslim. And for us as a Shia, we have Imamat and we have Adalat of God as well. So we have 5 usuluddin there, we must believe it. The Almighty God is the one who gives life and death. Some people ask, how is it possible that when we die, for example, we get buried, our body turns into dust, and other people, when they burn their body, when they die, their body turns into ashes. So how is it possible that once you turn into dust or ashes, the body comes back to life? How can you come back to life? The answer is, Allah is the one who gives life and death. He says, kun fayakun. He says, be, and it is. The same way that Allah created us the first time from nothing, He will do it again. Why can't He do that? Yeah, if we understand, we mentioned in our first lecture, it's important to understand who we worship and what qualities does the God have. If you understand that God is the most powerful, then you wouldn't be asking this question. Recite the salawat. Imam Ali alayhi salam says, if a man sees how fast his death is coming towards him, he will stop admiring the world. We get neglectful, we forget what's happening, we get so busy in the life that we forget that we have to die. But there's nobody in the world who can deny that death will not come to them. Death comes to everyone. And it will come to us as well one day. However, we have this fear inside us. We are scared. Everyone's scared of death. Because we do not understand what death is. If we understand what death is, then we will be like Qasim, the son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, the Sahih Salawat. What does Hazrat Qasim say in Karbala? When Imam Hussain asked him, Qasim, how do you see death? He said, oh uncle, death to me is sweeter than honey. So for him, death is something which is very sweet. A believer, a mu'min who loves God, who wants to meet God, for them, death is something beautiful. Death is something exciting. And they want to meet it as soon as possible. Because they understand that when we die, we go close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We go and meet, I'm going to go and meet my Lord. Yeah, when you know somebody, for example, you have someone you love, your parent or somebody else, your friend from somewhere else, and you know that you're going to meet them after this, or the flight is going to come. You know, they say, I'm going to come 1 o'clock. You're going to go to the airport 12 o'clock and wait for them because you're excited to meet them. Or you go at the door and wait for them because you want to see them. So you rush towards them. So if you understand that death is something that will take us closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then we will love death and we will not be scared of death. It is said that our 10th Imam, Imam Ali al-Naqi alayhi salam, when he was in prison, he dug a grave and he used to pray next to the grave. And then when people saw him, they were his lovers, his followers, they were scared and they were surprised. Then why does Imam have a grave dug next to him? Imam says that this is so that when I look at it every day, it reminds me that this is my end. This is where I have to go. They say that some of the scholars, some of the Marajas in this time as well, they dug a grave in their home and they try and sleep in that for some time. So they can remember that they have to go one day, so they don't get arrogant. For us, as a normal believers, when we don't have that much strength I don't think I have to go and sleep in a grave. For us, what is recommended that we go and visit the graveyard at least once a week. When we go and visit the graveyard, we see that all of these people who were once alive, they are no longer there anymore. So it reminds for us that we also have to come here one day. It helps us to remind to connect to God again. And then on the other hand, it is also acts as a place of reminder where we give something for the marhumin, for those who have passed away. We recite a Surah Fatiha for them. Yeah, we give them a reward from Surah Holy Quran. Sometimes when we're at home, we say a Surah Fatiha, you all know. Yeah, the kids, you have learned it by heart as well. It doesn't take that long, maybe less than 1 minute. However, we get so busy in our life that we forget to recite it. We forget to remember our parents and all of those who have died. Yeah? For the older marhumin, please recite Allah's salawat. The Holy Quran says, وَمَا الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَعِيبٌ وَلَهْوٌ وَالدَّارُ الْآخِرَةُ خَيْرٌ لِلَّذِينَ يَتَّقُونَ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. What is this life? This life is nothing but a play and amusement. The best home is the hereafter. It is for those who are righteous. Those who are righteous, their best home is in the hereafter. So will you not understand? Yeah, this world Allah has created is just a temporary world. Everyone has to die. Yeah, how long we are going to live? 90 years, maximum 100 years, 120 years? Yeah, in the earlier the time was long, but now the time is not that long. So what is the reality of death? How long are we going to live and what is the reality of it? Death, for some people, for some of us, is the end of life. When we see death, we say that because after that nothing is left, nobody talks to you, nobody is near you, everything for them finishes. And they don't know what is going to happen afterwards. For them, death is the end of everything, the end of hope. However, Islamically, death is not the end. Allah says in the Holy Quran, قَالُوا إِنَّ لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. Verily, to Allah you belong and to Allah you will return. So death is our return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah, we mentioned the ayah where life and death is created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If something is created by Allah, can that be negative? Can that be a bad thing? Allah who is the most wise, Al-Hakim, Allah who is the most powerful, can He create something which is negative and bad? It is our perspective where we see death as something bad. In another ayah Allah says, قُلْ يَتَوَفَّاكُمْ مَلَكُ الْمَوْتَ الَّذِي. Your soul will be taken by the angel of death. So when some people see this or they understand what death is, they think that the angel takes the soul and that's it, everything finishes. Because the body goes into ground and it gets dusted, now the soul is also finished. However, from this ayah, tawaffa is different to fawt. Fawt is when everything finishes. Tawaffa says the angel seizes the soul, so that soul is taken. But then that soul is released back. The angel comes and takes the soul from the body because this body is a temporary home that Allah has given to work in this world. And their soul then travels further. Where was our first home? Our first home was the womb of our mother. When we were a baby inside the womb of our mother, that was our first home. That's where we lived. And then that world, for a time being, we were there, we nourished, we got food and supply from our mother, we became strong, and then it came to a time where that area now became small for us, it became confined. So we needed to move somewhere bigger, and we came into this world. And we live in this world for some time, so we can grow, we can become stronger, and we can nourish, but then this world will also become a prison for us at the end. It will become small for us. So then we need to find somewhere bigger to go. So Islamically, death is not the end of life. Islamically, death is the start of a new life, is the start of a new birth. The way that we leave our mother's womb and we come into this world, the same way when we die, we leave this world and we just go to another world. It is just a transfer from one world to another. So we have Alam al-Arwah, the world of the souls, and then we have the world of the womb, and then we have this world, then you go to the Alam al-Barzakh, which is a waiting area. All of those people that have died, they have not gone to the Day of Judgment now. So they're not with Allah doing their judgment. They are in an area, a place called Alam al-Barzakh. Barzakh is the name of that place. They're waiting there until the Day of Judgment. So when everybody dies, everybody goes to that place, and then the Day of Judgment will start when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills. So the death, Islamically, is something positive. It just takes from one place to another. The Holy Prophet says that Allah has not created you to perish, to finish. Allah has created you so that your life transfers from one place to another. Yeah, so our soul will go from Alam al-Arwah to the womb, to this world, to Barzakh, to the Day of Judgment, and we'll go to heaven, and inshallah we live there forever. Or, God forbid, if you are bad, then we go to hell. Inshallah, none of us will go for the sake of Abba Abdullah will say. Recite Allah salawat for the Imam. So why has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created life and death? Why did not Allah just allow us to live in this world forever? Why do we have to go to heaven? We can just stay here, get tested, and do everything that we can here to grow and stay strong. Yeah, make this world the best place for us. Make this world to be the heaven for us. Allah says, الَّذِي خَلَقَ الْمَوْتَ وَالْحَيَاةَ لِيَبْلُوَكُمْ أَيُّكُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا وَهُوَ الْعَزِيزُ الْحَكِيمُ. Allah has created the death and life so that He may try you which of you is the best in deeds. And He is the most mighty and forgiving. Yeah? So if Allah just rewards everyone, or Allah just punishes everyone, then where is the justice of God? Allah has created this world as a means that because some of us do not believe that God is watching. Yeah? God is Al-Khabir, He's always aware, He's Al-Basir, He's always seeing, He's always watching us. But some of us, because we're not connected to God, we don't feel He's watching us. Yeah? So God has created this world. Will you stay on your faith? Will you do what I've asked you to do? Even if you feel that I am not watching, will you still do the right thing? Yeah, will you not deviate from my path? And if we keep up with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has asked, then we will have taqwa, we will be righteous, and we will be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we will get close to Him. But if we don't, then we might get into hell. So we have to be very, very careful. Yeah, imagine some of the boys that I know, they do taekwondo. If you go for taekwondo, you have a competition, you don't sit at home doing nothing. Yeah, and then you just turn up in the tournament and say, I'm going to compete. You will lose, you will get out in the first round. Yeah, so in order to win in that competition, you need to go through troubles, you need to go through training, hard training, tough training. You train yourself for months, you get ready. Yeah, you will fall down many times, you will get hurt, but you come back strong, you train harder, and then you get ready for the competition. And when you go, you're ready, you have trained, although you've gone through all these difficulties, but now when the time comes to show, you are ready, and you fight in the taekwondo competition and you win because you are ready and you trained. Yeah. So to reach something good, sometimes we have to go through a little bit of difficulty. Please recite the salawat. In the traditions, in the narrations from the Imams and the Prophet, in one tradition, Imam Hussain alayhi salam describes, on the day of Ashura, he said to his loyal friends, "Remain firm, O sons of the noble people, because death is a bridge that you will cross. It will take you from discomfort and troubles into the extensive gardens of paradise. So which of you does not like to take that bridge?" So it's just a bridge that will take us from these troubles in this world into the hereafter, which is a better place for us to be. Imam Baqir alayhi salam says, when he was asked what is death, he says death is just a sleep. The same way that we sleep every night, but God gives us another opportunity to live another day. So when we wake up, we should thank God because Allah has given us another opportunity to come back to life. Yeah, Imam says that death is just a longer sleep. You sleep and you don't wake up until Allah wills. Yeah? So none of us know that when we are going to die. We might sleep tonight, we don't know if we're going to come back to life tomorrow or not. So we need to understand what death is. Why do we fear death? Why are we scared of death? Number one is because we do not have the correct insight. We don't understand what death is. As I said, some of us think death is something negative, is the end of everything, and it is not. So that's point number one. If we understand death is not the end of everything, that removes some of that fear. Number two is it being unfamiliar path. We don't know what will happen after we die. Nobody has come back to tell us what has happened to them. Whether these things that we have heard about hell and heaven, is it true or not? So we don't know what is going to happen. Yeah, imagine you're taken somewhere and they drop you in the middle of nowhere in this country. Yeah, you don't have your mobile phone or Google Maps to use, but you know your destination is Coventry. You know you have to come back here. So they say, come back, make your way to home. If you don't have Google Maps, you don't have your phone, yeah, you'll feel anxiety and fear inside you. How am I going to get there? Which path am I going to take? What if I get lost? What if something comes on the way and attacks me? Yeah, because we don't know which path we're taking, then that brings fear in our heart. And to remove this fear, we need to read and learn. Traditions have mentioned many things. what happens. It has mentioned the story of when you die, what happens in the grave, what happens at barzakh, and what happens in the hereafter. So when you have that knowledge, that fear will also remove. Number 3 is the lack of preparation. We are not prepared. Yeah. So if you know you have an exam in 1 month's time in the school, some of you had GCC this year. Yeah. If you just stand at home and then you turn up on GCC day and do your exam, you're not going to be ready for it. You're going to feel all anxious and worried because you haven't prepared. Yeah. But if you prepare, you revise. When your teacher tells you to revise, you do that. You follow the instructions. Then when you come to the exam, you're confident. You're ready. Yes, I can do this. Yeah. You're excited when you're going to do the paper. Because I've seen both type of students. Some who are worried, and then we can see that they have not done any revision. And then some who have revised, now they're all confident and they're ready. Yeah, but on that day you can't turn up and say, oh God, please help me and make my mind shine so then I can write everything down. Yeah. So the same way, we can't just turn up on the day of judgment and tell God, oh God, please forgive me everything. I don't know what to do, all these wrong things I've done, I didn't prepare. We have to prepare. We have to make sure we take time to prepare. Yeah? If you prepare correctly, then we know what will be our end. I'll tell you a story. They said that there was a country and the people would choose a king, and that king would be there only for 1 year. At the end of 1 year, they would give the king a good send-off and send the king to an island. And then they would make it very luxurious, you know, the way the kings and queens travel. So having lots of things, music, people, and then also decorations, everything. So they would take this king and send it off to the island. The whole town would come and see off the king. The king would be crying and everybody else would be happy because the king is going. Yeah? And then when they went, they came back on the way, they found another person. They made that person the king and told the person that this is the condition, the person accepted. And they said, we will drop you off to an island after 1 year. So this person came, and when he became the king, after a few weeks, he asked his ministers, where is this island? Show me that island. So they showed him the island. When he went to the island, what does he find? That it is an island which is a jungle. It has got wild animals in it. And then he realized that if he's dropped there, he's going to die the first day like the other kings died. So when he came back, he still had that time of his 1 year to be a king. He spent all his money that he could. He changed that island. He hired men to get rid of all the jungle and trees, get rid of all the wild animals. He built a castle for himself. He built nice plants and trees, good animals and farming. And then after 9 months, he went to the minister. He said, I'm ready to go to the island. The minister said, no, you still have 3 more months. So when the 1 year time was over, they came to see him off. And what do they find? That he's all happy. And the people were surprised that all the other kings were crying and you were happy. Why is that? He said, have you not heard what the wise men have said? The wise said that when you come to this world as a baby, you are crying and everybody else is laughing. So live your life such that when you leave this world, when others are crying over your death, you are laughing. Because you know, you are certain in your heart, you are mutma'in, that you have done enough, you've got good deeds, that when you meet your Lord, you're not ashamed, you're not scared. Because you have done enough good deeds, inshallah. Yeah? So he was prepared to go to the island. So we need to make sure that now we know Allah has given us this life. We don't know when we're going to die. We don't know when the death will come. So we need to make sure we're doing preparation. So when that time comes, we are ready, we're excited. We say, oh God, I'm ready to die now. I'm ready to die tomorrow. Instead of saying that, oh God, I'm not ready. Because if you're not prepared, it doesn't matter. Even if you live 100 years, you will always have something in your heart that will tell you that you don't want to die. You know, when we're young, we say, I'm too young to die now. Yeah, when you get old, you're going to say, I've worked all my life so hard, I've built all this, my children and family. Now is my time to relax and see what I have built, so I can enjoy what I've worked hard for. Yeah, so we're never happy. We don't want to die young because we're too young, and we don't want to die old because we haven't seen the fruit of our hard work. So we're not really ready for death if you don't understand what the death is. Recite the salawat. So I will, bearing the time in mind, I will give another story, and then we can learn from it. Yeah. So the whole Quran says one thing: verily, the knowledge of the hour is with Allah alone. No one knows where he's going to die. Only Allah knows. So nobody can claim that I know that I'm going to die today or tomorrow. I'm going to die in 5 years' time. We can see in the history, people who have been terminally ill, the doctor said that this person is not going to last for more than 1 year, 2 years, but because of the miracle and will of Allah, that person has lived longer. Yeah, that person has lived for more than the doctor has prescribed. And we see somebody who's very young. If you look at them, they're all healthy and they're all good. Yeah, you say this person is going to last very long. They're going to have 60, 70 years of a lifetime. A recent incident happened within our community. Yeah, where one of our members of our community, his brother passed away. He was a young lad. Yeah, who could have thought that a young lad like him who was good and fit would pass away? So we do not know when that time will come. So we need to make sure that we're ready for that time. One day, the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, he was sitting with his friends, with his companions, and he said, let me tell you a story today, and then I want you to solve this riddle. This is a riddle that you need to try and solve. So he said, a man found out that when he's going to die soon, his days are short, he's going to die soon. So he was feeling all lonely, that I need someone to help me with this part. I need someone to be with me. So he went on and he knocked on the door of the first friend and he told him the story that I'm going to die soon. Can you come and help me? Can you be with me on this journey? The friend said that unfortunately not. The best I can do is help you with buying a grave for you and buying the coffin and the shroud for you. That's it. I can't do anything more than that. He got very disappointed. He went to the second friend. He knocked on the door of the second and he told him the story that I'm going to die very soon. Can you please help me? The second friend says, I've been with you all your life. The most I can do is I can walk with you to the graveyard. I can't do anything more than that. He got very disappointed and he said that if I go to the third one, I will have the same answer. So he was very sad. He went on, he knocked on the door of the third one. But with his surprise, the third one said, do not worry. I am with you. I will stand with you. I will come to your grave with you. When the angels come to ask a question, I will support you. In the hereafter, the day of judgment, when Allah questions you, I will be there to support you and I will be your guide. So this man felt relief and he passed away peacefully. The Prophet asked his companions, who were his 3 friends? Yeah? So I put that question to you. Can you think who were his 3 friends? The Prophet says his 3 friends were wealth, family, and his deeds. Our wealth, the most it can help us with is buy us our graveyard, buy us our grave, our coffin. Our family, the most they can walk with us is up to our grave. Once they put us in the grave, they will go back home. They may cry for a bit and then they will go back home. The third one, which will all stay with us, is our deeds. Our deeds will stay with us in this world and it will accompany us in the hereafter as well in the form of the light. It will always stay with us. Yeah, so what counts the most is our good deeds. But we can use the money and the family to make them as a means of our good deeds. Yeah, if you have the money, you spend it in the way of Allah, you spend it in the way of Imam Hussain, that becomes your good deed. Yeah? If you have money, you buy a mosque, you buy a school, you build a well, anything you do for the community, something that you do that the people benefit from, that becomes a sadaqah jariyah. That's something, as long as that thing is running, when you die, you will still benefit from it. So if somebody helps to buy a mosque, as long as that mosque is there, people pray there, you will also get the reward, no matter even if you have died thousands of years ago. Yeah? And then our children, if we educate our children well enough that when we die, after us, when they sit down, they eat food, after the food, they recite a Fatiha and they say, may Allah bless my parents. Yeah? Or we teach them Quran, they read Quran, as long as they continue reading Quran, they remember us, we will get the reward. So they will also become our good deed. They will become a good deed which will last forever. Yeah? So our own good deed that we do, it will go with us as a shadow, it will stay with us. But the wealth and the children can be a sadaqah jariyah. If we use them in the right way, we train it in the right way, our children, then they can become helpful for us and they will help us in the hereafter. So So inshallah we'll reflect on this. We will not chase the materialistic world. We need to understand that this is a temporary world. We have to live such a way, Imam alayhi salam says, we have to live such a way that you might die tomorrow. So you need to prepare for the hereafter, that tomorrow might be my last day. However, you also live in such a way that you might live in this world forever. So you have all the time in the world that you can to prepare yourself as well at the same time. So balance of both. You're thinking of both this world and the hereafter. But your main goal is the hereafter, not this world. Because you have to remember that the death is chasing us. It's closer to us than our shadow. And we don't know when it will attack us from our behind. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Inshallah, now I invite Brother Sayyid Ali Akbar Kazmi to do the Masail in English for tonight. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد صلوات. MashaAllah, I see a lot of young faces and I see a lot of brothers at the back. This Allah represents Ghazi Abbas alayhi salam. And I want you to imagine that this is not just a representation, but we imagine inshallah Ghazi Abbas is with us in this room. So therefore I'd like you guys to come closer to the mimbar inshallah. And we remember tonight's Masa'ib, tonight's Roza, for Ali ibn Akbar, inshallah. With Allah, salawat, please come forward. Come forward, please, inshallah, with Allah, salawat. Keep reciting Allah, salawat. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليك أيها الشهيد كربلاء. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Azizan, my dear brothers, my dear sisters, my uncles and aunties, inshallah, I'd like to take you towards Karbala, the land of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. There's a young man in the tent of Abu Abdullah. Who's this young man? This young man, according to some narrations, is 18 years old. And according to some recitals, they tell us that in the camp of Abu Abdullah, what is happening? He calls his son Ali al-Akbar. In the tent, he makes him walk forward and then back. He does this again and again. Ali al-Akbar asks him, "Oh father, it's a question he asked him, why do you make me walk like this? Imam al-Hussein starts to weep and he starts to cry. He says, Ya Ali al-Akbar, if only you had a son like you, you'd understand why I cry when you walk. Because after now I won't be able to do ziyarah of Rasulullah. Why? What does Imam Hussein mean? Because the way Ali al-Akbar used to look, he would look like Rasulullah. And the way Ali al-Akbar would walk, his walk was like Rasulullah. His talk was like Rasulullah. Oh, Abu Abdullah, how are you preparing yourself for such a sacrifice? Ali al-Akbar, he asked permission from his father. He says, Ya Abu Abdullah, there's no companion left anymore. There's no Muslim ibn Awsaja. They've even beheaded and killed Habib. He says, oh father, let me go and represent you. Imam al-Hussein starts to cry and he calls Ali al-Akbar close to him. He brings him close, he hugs him tight. He says, oh Ali al-Akbar, let me have one last hug. And that last hug lasts so long and he cries so much that they faint upon the sands of Karbala. Within the tents, both father and son become unconscious. It is said when Imam al-Hussein wakes up, he says to Ali al-Akbar, get up my son, go towards the women and ask the women for permission to go to the battlefield. Who is the woman? Al-Masa'ib is amongst the women camp. He's going to go ask permission from Al-Masa'ib. He goes towards the women and the women start to cry. They start to weep. Why? They say, oh Ali al-Akbar, we are not at home. These are foreign lands and we've paid enough loss already. Ya Akbar, don't make us go through this masibah too. We see amongst the women little Zukaina and the beloved sister of Ali al-Akbar. What does she say? Give me one last hug, oh brother. I will get to see you again. Oh Ali al-Akbar, this is your sister. But after you pass away and your father gets killed, this is that same sister that will be slapped by Shimmer. And this is the same sister whose ears will be torn. Oh Akbar. And time comes, he starts to march towards the battlefield. Ali al-Akbar sits on his horse, he goes towards the battlefield. He said, Anna Ali ibn al-Hussein. He said, I am Ali, son of Hussein. For those who don't know me, recognize me. He says, I am Hashimi wa Ali. He says that I am the one that is from Bani Hashim. And my strike will be that of Bani Hashim and the children of Ali. Who is Ali al-Akbar? His grandfather is Ali al-Murtada. These people have not forgot Khaybar. These people have not forgot Jamal Safin. This great young warrior of Abu Abdullah. He killed many of the enemy ranks. But what happens? A time comes where Ali al-Akbar is killing soldier after soldier, enemy after enemy, sending them towards the hellfire. A time comes where he starts to feel thirsty. He starts to say, Aladash, Aladash. He goes back towards the camp of Abu Abdullah. As he goes back towards the camp of Abu Abdullah, oh Husayna, how do you help him? Because you yourself are more thirsty than Ali al-Akbar. How are you going to help him? What does he do? He goes towards his father. He says, oh my father, if only I can have some water. I swear I can kill all the enemies and I will send Akbar. These are the women whenever they were missing Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and they would do ziyarah of Ali al-Akbar. This is one last look they're going to get at the face of Rasulullah, and this is one last touch that they will get of Ali al-Akbar. Oh, what a time comes. He goes towards the enemy camp one more time, and he starts to go into the battlefield. One by one he attacks them. A time comes in the battlefield, Imam al-Hussein starts to shout out. He says, "Oh Umar ibn Sa'ad, can you not see that I've sent that person that represents your messenger? Are you mad? What's wrong with you? You're going to kill that person that resembles us the most." Imam al-Hussein starts to cry, starts to weep. Ali al-Akbar goes into the enemy ranks. He's penetrated so far, the left rank has become injured, the right rank has become injured, and then he goes towards the center of the army. Ali al-Akbar eventually starts to go forward. An evil man comes from behind. He attacks Ali al-Akbar with an iron rod from behind, and another person starts to attack him with a spear. Ali al-Akbar falls to the floor. Ali al-Akbar, wow, what's happening? He falls onto the horseback. And what happens to the horse? The horse's eyes become blinded. At that moment he said, "Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah." He says, "Peace and blessings be upon you, ya Aba Abdullah. Your son has given you his final salam." But which way does Ali al-Akbar go? His horse doesn't take him towards the camp of Aba Abdullah, and the horse goes towards the camp of the enemies. And those that have javelins attack with javelins, and those that have daggers attack with daggers, and those that have spears attack with spears. It is said there's not a single place on Ali al-Akbar's body that is not attacked or without wound. A time comes where Imam al-Hussein charges towards the enemy. But what does Imam al-Hussein do? He's now become blind and he cannot see. Why? Because Ali al-Akbar, he was the light of his eyes. Eventually he reaches a place where he sees that there's a woman there already at the body of Ali al-Akbar. She says, "Assalamu alaikum ya Aba Abdullah." "Oh Hussein, oh my Aba Abdullah, oh my brother Hussein, oh what has happened to my nephew?" And Bibi Zainab Samuel alayha throws herself upon the body of Ali al-Akbar. It is said that Imam al-Hussein reaches towards. Someone asked Bibi Zainab Samuel alayha, "Why is it that you reach the body?" She said, "When I saw my brother coming towards the body, he would go, then he would fall. He would go and then he would fall. He would go and then he would fall. He would say, 'Aina, Aina, Ali al-Akbar.'" He said, where are you, Ali al-Akbar?" She said, "If I didn't go in that moment, Aba Abdullah would have died from the grief." What happens? Eventually he takes the body back. He says to the youth of Bani Hashim, "Bring the body of Ali al-Akbar back." He starts to bring the body. He lies the body on the side. Imam al-Hussein, he lies down with Ali al-Akbar. He starts to kiss his cheek and put his cheek on his cheek. He starts to kiss him on the forehead. Oh, Imam al-Hussein. But there will come a time in Karbala, and who will they be there to come and kiss your cheek? Instead, the La'natullah Shima will be the one to sit upon the chest of Aba Abdullah, and he will deliver 12 strikes to the throat of Aba Abdullah. Oh, Hussein, oh, Madluma. Assalamu alaykum ya Aba Abdullah, ya Aba Abdullah, ya Hussein ibn Ali, أيها الشهيد يا ابن رسول الله، يا حجة الله على خلقه، يا سيدنا ومولانا. إنا توجهنا واستشفعنا شفعنا وتوسلنا بك إلى الله وقدمناك بين يدي حاجاتنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا يا وجيها عند الله اشفع لنا. We ask you, Ya Fatima Zahra, to accept these small tears of ours, and for those that are in, inshallah, Ya Allah, we ask you, Bihaqi Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, that you accept this as a means for their shifa, inshallah. Ya Allah, we ask you, those that don't have awlad, Ya Allah, Bihaqi Ali, and ask that you grant them soldiers for the sake of Imam Zaman. Sallu ala Muhammad.